Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. I am your host, attorney Elsa W. Smith, the owner of the law offices of Elsa W. Smith, and the host of Women Winning Wednesdays. I'm so glad that you're joining us today. The mission of not only my firm, but this show is to empower women through estate planning. And one of the benefits of this show is that we not only give you free educational content, but we also bring you some pretty influential guests with amazing personal stories. I enjoy bringing you guests who are making a positive impact in our community and work towards empowering women. So today's guest fits that bill perfectly. If you know Peggy Morris, then you know her true love and passion for sisterhood. She's a native of Baltimore. Peggy received her Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Morgan State University. Her professional career spans over 30 years in the telecommunications industry, 8 years in the nonprofit arena, and 8 years in county government. Most recently, Peggy retired from the Prince George's County government in the Office of Community Relations. Peggy grew up with 5 sisters, and their parents always encouraged them that no matter what, they were to stick together. And today, that sisterly bond is perpetuated through Sisters for Sisters Network Incorporated. And as president and founder of Sisters for Sisters Network, Peggy, along with her cousin, Audrey Dixon, and 2 friends, Sharon J. Bullock and Dee Adams, saw a need to create a platform to allow like-minded women to come together to exchange information, resources, and contacts to encourage each other, to push each other forward to follow their dreams. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Peggy Morris to the show. Welcome, Peggy.
Thank you. So good to be here.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have you. Um, it's really a treat for me because I've been looking forward to this interview for the longest time. So not only are you a friend, I've admired all the stuff that you do, which we're going to get into in the interview. But now I have you on the show, which is fabulous.
My
So,
pleasure.
so before we talk about Sisters for Sisters Network Incorporated, I want the audience to get to know a bit more about your journey. So if you would share with us a couple of significant personal challenges you faced on the road to success and how did you overcome them?
So if we talk about me, there's a lot of years of conversation. And to try to keep it short, grew up in East Baltimore, 5 wonderful sisters and a brother. Um, I lived in a household where there was a lot of love, but there was a lot of tension as well.
Hmm.
And for a long time, trying to understand what that was all about. Um, so we dealt with domestic violence in my household. Um, it took me until I was about 24 to 25 to understand what that was all about. And um, it was more about losing my brother in a drowning accident.
So sorry.
And for some, through the process, my father had a tendency to remind my mother because she was totally responsible for my brother, not only my brother, but my cousin. They both drowned. And my father had a tendency to remind my mother about that. So that was the tension that was going on. And I had to live with that. As I grew older, I truly understood what that was about. I realized that my father was dealing with mental illness. Back during that day, they didn't talk about mental illness as being that. It was, they would say you were crazy. Okay. But as I went through life, I realized and was learned from other family members what actually happened with my brother and cousin. as I moved into adulthood, traveled through life, and began to work in corporate America. And I saw corporate America in a different light as well. If you talk about challenges in life, I guess I could say I'm kind of blessed, not really having any serious issues, let's say with people or locations where I live or whatever. But I do remember, and you have to keep in mind, this is not like yesterday. I'm talking about in the early 80s and 90s, probably maybe before you were even born. But it was a period in time where I loved my job. I loved the people I worked for, but I saw discrimination.
Hmm.
It's a little bit different when it impacts you.
Indeed.
And I can say I was kind of blessed in a way because I was fortunate enough to work in a department where I actually saw this. And the senior manager was a person who would, on the weekend, go out to this particular university and play golf. So if you're not smart enough and not to know, that's where a lot of business take place on the golf course. I would see on Monday mornings a lot of people coming in for jobs. Um, and so as a minority in that department, there were many, many opportunities that were not given to us as Black folks. But the folks that came in from the outside, that came in that were not qualified, didn't not have a degree,
Mm.
got the opportunity to get the interview, got a job offer, and that was at work that Monday morning.
Hmm.
So again, I saw that and I was blessed to be able to work around that because um, I was determined that I was going to make known that I saw what was happening and I voiced my opinion. Um, Again, I was blessed because when you know your truth and you know that it wasn't right, and you saw it go past you day in and day out, you either sit there and accept it or do nothing about it or open your mouth and make statement. And so I look back and that was, oh God, about 30 some years ago.
Would you say,